Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squad for boxing news and views from around the internet. Tyson Fury has taken a swipe at WBC champion Deontay Wilder for failing to attend the first promotional commitment ahead of their rematch, which is on February 22nd, 2020. Deontay Wilder not attending a football game because he had the flu. Well, that's what's being reported. But Fury has responded with this.
His management team and his full team are afraid to put Deontay Wilder in the same room as Tyson Fury. Facts. Keep him away, Al. Keep him away, Shelley. Keep him away, his trainers. Keep him away, his wife. Deontay, what a little bitch you've become. You can't even come and see me and be face to face with me on camera because you get humiliated and took to school. Pussy!
Meanwhile, Fury's promoter Frank Warren is confident Tyson Fury will stop Deontay Wilder. He says, I actually do think Tyson will stop him, but having said that, I don't see Wilder doing anything differently than he did in the first fight, albeit he's a dangerous sod. I see Tyson comprehensively outboxing him this time around before either stopping him or winning on points by a wide margin. There has been a lot made of the situation regarding the officials, and we will deal with that. As things stand though, I think more people in the States know Tyson than know Wilder, so it's like he's going to be the home fighter. The Brits will be there in thousands as well to get behind their man and will take over Las Vegas. Frank Warren's comments there, and he has talked knockout before. You may recall him and Fury predicted a knockout the first time around. My guess, if Fury wins, it will be on points rather than by stoppage, but 2019 has shown us anything can and does happen at times. But of the broadcast arrangements, while we know it's going to be on Fox pay-per-view and ESPN Plus pay-per-view in the United States, in the UK it's still up for grabs. So Sky Sports, according to Bob Arum, has made a substantial offer to broadcast the fight. However, BT Sports' contract with Frank Warren allows them to show the fight so as long as they match the Sky offer, so we will see what happens there. And Frank Warren has also stated that Anthony Joshua should wait and fight the winner of Wilder and Fury. So he says, if I was Anthony Joshua, I wouldn't fight again until we know the winner of this fight, and then make them make that fight. I'd let them strip me of my titles and not fight anybody until the big one. The one thing about Pulev, he can whack. Usyk is a small guy, 32 years of age, and a good boxer. So I would say I want to fight the winner of our fight, get all the parties together, work something out, maybe some step-aside money. That's what I would do, because that's what the public want. They want to know who is the number one. The number 3 and the number 4 fought in Saudi. The number 1 and number 2 are fighting on February 22nd. I do like the idea of what Frank Warren is saying there about waiting, fight the winner, but I think the realities of the sport with the belts and all the money that's attached to them would probably prevent that, because if he waits, he probably gets stripped one of the IBF, that would be first to go, and then the WBO. I think if he doesn't fight now, because remember, the IBF and WBO mandatories haven't been fought for since 2017. The IBF doesn't have a lot of patience. Maybe there's a little bit more leeway in the WBO, but isn't the idea that these guys all fight an undisputed fight? Because at the moment, if he gets stripped of a couple of titles, this is Joshua, it would be a unification. And because you would have a couple of belts split off elsewhere, could you really say who the number one in the division is? That's the advantage of having all 4 belts together. That's why we haven't seen an undisputed fight for so long, because it's tricky to get one actually made. It seemingly looked like we would have one in 2018. There was some hope for 2019, 2020, probably the back end of that year as well. So who knows? But I like what Frank Warren is saying, but I just don't think that it's actually that practical. And in any event, Frank Warren has also made public statements saying that there's likely to be Wilder Fury 3 mid-2020. So if that happens, obviously, if Joshua Waits gets stripped, he's kind of left with maybe one title and no fight. And of Anthony Joshua's next potential fight, which is likely to be Kubrat Pulev, but yet to be confirmed, Pulev's promoter Bob Arum, who co-promotes him, says that he thinks Joshua is going to get beaten. He says, I'm going to make a big prediction here. At that particular time, there will be no Joshua. Everybody is overlooking that Bulgarian who has been training his ass off in the gym. Let me tell you, he's not coming in fat like Andy Ruiz Jr. He's going to pressure Joshua. He can knock Joshua out. And just rounding out this heavyweight news mashup video, also involving Frank Warren, who's talking about his fighter Daniel Dubois, and this is in his column in the Daily Star. He says, "My wish for him is to face Joe Joyce for the European heavyweight title in April at the O2. If Joyce doesn't take that fight, then I hope someone like Derek Chisora or Dillian Whyte would step in to face him." Frank Warren's comments there to the Daily Star. Now, my view on that, and I'll start with the first bit. The Joyce fight, that's a much more makeable fight. But whether Joe Joyce wants that next in April is a question, because his manager Sam Jones has sort of said, yeah, 2020 they could make that, but he hasn't necessarily committed to being at the O2 in April. And I haven't seen anything from Joe Joyce to suggest that he wants that fight immediately. But if they don't make that fight, these other options, Derek Chisora and Dillian Whyte, it kind of feels like Frank Warren's saying these things more for headlines than it actually being possible. Derek Chisora has already asked for an exorbitant amount of money. Didn't he ask for something like £5 million, something ridiculous? And Dillian Whyte is in the Dillian Whyte pay-per-view business on Sky Sports. He's not going to be crossing the divide to face an up-and-coming prospect who represents a huge amount of risk, and probably it's not going to be the same sort of reward that he's after. And I'm sure Frank Warren would want to build the fight as Daniel Dubois is at least on par in terms of profile and standing, whereas at the moment, because he's an up-and-coming prospect, he's the B-side to Dillian Whyte. Maybe he's the A-side to Derek Chisora. I don't know. People will have different theories on that, given Chisora's track record. But those are good fights for Daniel Dubois, but I don't think they're actually realistic. Wrong promotional stable. And Frank Warren's options for Daniel Dubois at this point, he's going to have to pull out the checkbook and he'd have to write a very large number, especially if you want someone like a Dillian Whyte or even a Derek Chisora, who's had a career renaissance of sorts. But Chisora looks likely to potentially be facing Alexander Usyk, and Dillian Whyte will be in the Dillian Whyte pay-per-view business on Sky, not on BT, where Daniel Dubois fights. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.